Welcome to the podcast from Grant Thornton Uganda. I am Lawrence Namale. Today, we are addressing what may be the most uncomfortable email many individuals have received in Uganda recently, probably starting last year. And the subject line reads, "Invitation to review and update your tax information relating to foreign incomes and assets." For many recipients, particularly foreign nationals or individuals with overseas connections, that email has triggered confusion, anxiety, and one big question: why is Uganda asking me about assets outside of Uganda? Let's begin with a simple but critical principle. Tax is not determined by nationality. Tax is determined by residence, source, and facts. So if you are a Ugandan tax resident, your global income, meaning income from all geographical sources, may fall within Uganda's tax framework. If you are not a resident, the rules are different. What has changed recently is not necessarily the law. These provisions have existed under Uganda's Tax Income Act for years. What has changed is enforcement. Uganda has implemented the Global Common Reporting Standard under the framework coordinated by the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, enabling automatic exchange of information between tax authorities. Through this system, standardized financial account data can be shared across different jurisdictions. In simple terms, cross-border information is easily being verified more than it was before. So today we are cutting through the fear and focusing on clarity. And in this episode, we're going to explain who qualifies as a tax resident, what foreign income and assets may need to be disclosed, and what URA can and cannot see under that program, whether double taxation is real or it's a risk, and the consequences of ignoring the issue at hand. But most importantly, we're going to talk about the practical steps you can take right now if you are a foreign national living in Uganda, a Ugandan with offshore investments, or anyone with cross-border income. This conversation is going to address your anxiety. So let us replace those anxieties with understanding and uncertainty with action. I'm joined on the podcast today by Hemal Shah, the Advisory Director at Grant Thornton Uganda, who boasts over 20 years experience in advisory. So Hemal, welcome to the podcast today.
Thank you so much, Lawrence.
Yeah, I think we're going to learn quite a bit. And so let's just get started with this right off the bat. Is this a new tax? Someone might be asking.
Yeah, actually, it's a perception because it has come out recently,
Yeah.
but it's not a new tax. It has been in legislation for years. So, as per the income tax, the income of a tax resident of Ugandan, whether earned from any geographical sources, is taxed in Uganda.
Someone might be saying that this thing just came out of nowhere. So why has it come up right about now?
Good question. I think it has come about now because Uganda has signed the treaty for automatic exchange of information. So we are now part of the Common Reporting Standard framework, where about 126 jurisdictions across the globe have actually signed this treaty. So by way of this treaty, all these 126 jurisdictions upload their information onto a common portal, and then each of them can access the information in their standard reporting framework. So Uganda has signed this treaty since July 2023, and as a result of this, Uganda is now part of those jurisdictions which share this information. And once Uganda is sharing this information, it has also received information from all the participating jurisdictions. So Uganda now has access to the information of Ugandan tax residents holding foreign assets and income. Since they have this information now, and since this income was supposed to be taxed within Uganda, URA has started now imposing it and started implementing it.
Yeah.
That is why it feels it has come
like
now.
it's new.
Yes,
Yeah.
but it's just that now they have a better access to the information.
Yeah.
And hence you might find that URA has become more vigilant now.
Okay. So Hemal, one of the things that you just said a few moments back is the key word, two words, Ugandan tax resident. So I might be having a Ugandan passport or I might not be having a Ugandan passport. But when it comes to this being a Ugandan tax resident, what does it exactly mean if we explore it?
Yes, the definition of Ugandan tax resident is particularly very important because the Act allows charging of the global income so far as you are Ugandan tax resident. Whether you hold Ugandan passport or not is not the determining factor. Determining factor is how many days you live in Uganda or if you have a permanent residential home in Uganda. So either you can have a permanent residential home or if you are staying in Uganda for more than 183 days or if the average number of days you spent in Uganda over the last 2 preceding years is more than 122 days, then you are classified as a Ugandan tax resident. And once you are Ugandan tax resident, your global income is taxable in Uganda.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense to me. Now, there's this thing about foreign asset disclosure. I know we saw that email going around to very many people about how many months back? 2-3 months back?
It has started since November that people have started receiving these emails.
Yeah, November 2025.
November 2025, yes.
Yeah.
Although URA started receiving information from July 2023, they were internalizing, and it is only after September 2025 that they have started now being more into implementation mode. So people started receiving this notice since November 2025, but they have been receiving. There are some clients who received it as as recent as yesterday
January,
and even today.
yeah.
So yeah, it's
So it's a continuous thing,
it's a
continuous process.
thing,
But when
yes.
people think about foreign asset disclosure, they might start freaking and thinking, I'm in trouble. So how can we help them understand what is going on?
Yes, basically, a Ugandan tax resident is required to disclose their foreign assets. So any assets held out of Uganda by them or any income earned by them from outside Uganda, they are required to disclose to URA. And this is what we mean by voluntary or foreign asset disclosure. There is a voluntary disclosure window that is available until July 2026.
Okay.
Yeah, so you can make a disclosure voluntarily that these are my assets and these are my income from the foreign assets or from the foreign investments and declare them in your return, amend your return, pay taxes if any. But that voluntary disclosure window is available until
this year, 2026.
This year, 2026.
So someone might be asking, what exactly does URA know? You said they started doing this way back in 2023.
Yes.
If someone is asking, what does URA know? What would you tell them?
Yes. So basically, there is a bit of, I would say, skepticism or fear amongst the Ugandan tax resident in relation to the information, even when disclosing. So URA essentially has already received all the information on the financial assets and income held by Ugandan tax resident in the forex in the foreign jurisdictions.
Yeah.
So this could be interest, dividend, your bank statements, your other financial instruments, whatever investments you hold. Yeah. So that information is already handy, available to URA.
And of course, some people are wondering, of course, many people normally wonder, is this double taxation? Am I going to be taxed? Does it mean I'm being taxed twice? where those assets are and here, and how do we demystify that?
Yeah, so basically there is a provision. You will not be taxed twice. So there are double taxation avoidance agreements, DTA. Uganda has DTA signed with 9 countries. And where this DTA exists, there is no double taxation. Even where DTA does not exist, there are provisions to have the credit of the tax paid in the foreign country available as a relief here. So suppose you are to pay the tax of hypothetically 100,000 shillings, and if you already paid taxes of say 50,000 shillings in the foreign country, the balance here would be 50,000 shillings. You would get a credit of the tax you've already paid. This is of course subject to the computations, the nature of income and the classification, but you do get a credit of the taxes paid.
So what I hear you saying is that there is no double taxation. People should not be afraid that I'm going to be taxed twice, but they need to volunteer the information correctly.
That's right.
All right. Now, let's talk about what people again normally fear. It's about the consequences as far as this is concerned. What happens if someone simply ignores this? I saw even one, I think last week on the newspapers. Again, URA insisting on this. What if someone just decides to ignore this? What happens?
Yeah, that's a question many of the taxpayers are wondering in their minds. So like I said, the taxpayer has a window up to June this year to disclose voluntarily. If they pass that window and there is no disclosure made, URA has the information of the income they earned from the foreign sources. So URA can consider it an evasion of the tax on that income. And the normal income tax provisions in relation to penalty and interest would apply should URA wish to impose them.
Administrative penalties and
Yes.
prosecution and
Yes, so the normal penalty of how if you are not paying your taxes in time, even on Ugandan income, the same provision would apply on this foreign incomes taxation. So that's 2% penalty.
Okay. Now that we have understood what it is, we've understood what this tax is. It's not double taxation. We've understood that it's what a Ugandan resident is. We've understood that this is a proactive approach by URA since way back before they started sending the emails. So now someone might be asking, what do I do from here? Where do I go from here? How do I plan my tax if I am in if these things touch on my assets? What do I do?
Yes, so they could follow simple steps. Number one, they need to understand their tax residency.
Yeah.
If they are confused on their residency, of course, they can always consult. But you need to be very clear if you are a Ugandan tax resident.
Yeah.
Once you are determined on your tax residency, the next step you do is you make a list of all your foreign income and assets and fill out the voluntary disclosure form. You evaluate if there are any additional taxes payable, and you can get the credit of the taxes already paid in foreign jurisdictions. You make that computation, you can amend that return, and you can be safe. It may be safer to pay a small amount of tax than getting yourself entangled into unnecessary liabilities and compliance issues later on.
Anything else, Emal, that you would like to share, even as we come to a close? This has been very informative to us. And if there's anything that you might want to encourage us to do, if you want to add on to this.
So I think as far as the voluntary disclosure of foreign assets and income is concerned, instead of panicking once you receive the email or in case where you may have already received, just consider following simple steps. Just determine your tax residency, evaluate or make a list of all the foreign assets and income, In most of the cases, you are likely to have already paid taxes in those jurisdictions. So it may be just a matter of disclosing here and getting the credit of the taxes already paid to make it simpler here, because Ugandan authorities may not know about the taxes that are already paid, whereas they do have information on the assets and the income. So it may be simpler to disclose that income along with the taxes paid, and in case if there are any additional taxes, just amend your return and make the payments. So I think it's quite simple. It may not be so much of a burden as most of the tax residents may perceive it. And hence, in case of any guidance required, please reach out to any professionals, which can make your life much easy. But there is no need to panic, and let us see how best we can handle this.
However, I have seen that it's something that it needs to be done, because URA seems to be very proactive as far as this is concerned. As in, it's like they have planned. You've said way back in 2023, before we knew these emails are going to come, they're already gathering information, and they are still continuing to get to sign with many other countries as far as this is concerned. So instead of panicking, we just implement, we report, we become compliant. I think, does it mean that if I don't become compliant right now and if I leave it for a long period of time, it's going to be a bigger mess for me?
Indeed, because after the period of voluntary disclosure, URA might impose penalties and interest on the outstanding amounts, if any.
All right. Emal, this has been very instructive. Thank you so very much for your time. Until next time when we share something else.
Thank you so much, Lawrence. It was indeed nice.
As we conclude today's discussion, let's bring this back to one core message. This is not about panic. It is about positioning yourself correctly. The law around global income for tax residents has always existed for years. What has evolved is transparency and enforcement through international information exchange frameworks. So if you are a Ugandan tax resident, the question is not whether foreign income exists, it is whether it has been properly disclosed, and where applicable, whether relief mechanisms such as foreign tax credits or treaty provisions have been correctly applied. So ignoring the issue increases risk. Addressing it clearly reduces the cost and stress and exposure. So the path forward is practical. Confirm your residency status, map your foreign income and assets, review prior filing for consistency, and seek professional advice where your situation is complex. Remember this line: fear is expensive, but clarity is cheaper. So if you have received an email that has unsettled you, do not wait for deadlines to create pressure. Start the process now, as even Hemal has told us. If you have any questions, you can reach us through advisory@ug.gt.com or info@ug.gt.com, and our team will be available to provide further guidance. Thank you for joining us. Until next time.